If Donald Trump becomes president again in 2024, here's a great segue into our final segment here. We're going to treat immigrants very poorly, unlike now.
Yes.
I mean, don't you? I mean, isn't it? Aren't you afraid that if Donald Trump becomes president again, that immigrants are going to go back to being treated like garbage?
Yeah, they might get run down by horseback.
They might get a horsewhip, when they're 2 steps out of the Rio Grande. Yeah, exactly. So you wanted to cover this, Russell. So why don't you set us up for this final chapter here?
Okay, so this is amazing to me, and I want to be fair. You are getting more pushback from Democrats who I would not consider progressives, like Julian Castro, on this than you'd normally get on these kinds of issues. Like they're not sweeping it under the rug and supporting Biden quite like some of what we've seen in the past with these kinds of policies, such as under Obama, who, yes, folks, he really did build the actual cages. Trump did just all of a sudden snap his fingers and make those cages appear. So there is that, but overall, listen, come on, man. If this happened under Trump, where you literally got a bunch of guys with cowboy hats on horseback whipping black Haitians,
there would be marches from Foley Square to Times Square right now. Going on right now. New York City, whenever a story like this broke in New York, there were marches.
Right. Where's all the talk about white supremacy now? Where is it? Talking about the white supremacist administration. Where is it? Where's all that talk? Where's Rachel Maddow crying? She went and started crying on air about Trump's immigration policy. She broke, supposedly, spontaneously, started crying on air. Where is she? Is she even doing a segment on this? I'm really curious. Like, is she even covering this?
Yeah, I don't know. I have not watched MSNBC in quite a while. Our pal Anish Shivani commented here. Missed some of this. Did you guys already talk about the most important component of reconciliation that already failed, namely immigration? Senate parliamentarian rules when Democrats are in power. Yes, they ruled against amnesty for the DACA folks. And sorry, I got to scroll here. Do they have nobody to go send? Do they have nobody to go send to her and break her legs? Anish, you got to join us for one of these. It's a little late this time, but maybe next week you could sit in on one of these. We do this every Sunday night at 7 p.m. It'd be great to talk to you again, man. But we are talking about immigration right now. And yeah, look, I mean, absolutely.
Well, also,
but look, the difference. Sorry, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
Well, and also, Biden's immigration policy is Trump's immigration policy. Trump's way of deporting all of these people was by invoking an obscure article of law. I believe it's Article 42, which allows you, without any hearing, to deport any asylum seeker on the basis of a health emergency. And actually, the Trump people first started tinkering with this when there was, do you remember this? Because of anti-vax people, we were having a little mumps outbreak back in 2019.
I don't remember that.
There was a little mumps outbreak, and the Trump people were already looking at that angle, like, hey, can we say we have a public health emergency and use that as a predicate to just deport all these people without any hearings? And then once COVID came along, bingo, right?
Right.
Biden has continued that same exact policy.
Yes,
as the Trump administration. So.
I mean, look, we always said, I mean, many of us on the left always said that the difference, the major difference between the Obama border policy and the Trump border policy involves tone and involves feelings. It involves how guilty are we supposed to feel about draconian border enforcement, right? A capitalist system that is built upon the idea that there is not enough money to go around to help everybody, based upon this idea that your neighbor is not your partner, your neighbor is your competition. That requires draconian border enforcement, and we could either cry about it or not cry about it. And Trump chose not to cry about it. fuck it, this is our country. We don't want to compete against labor from south of the border. And so that's it. And he was very mean about it and very brash about it. But from a policy standpoint, I mean, the only major difference was the family separation. Right. Obama didn't do family separation and Trump did. And that resulted in a little over 500 kids. Last I heard, it might be less now. They may have reunited more of them since then. This was right before. This was probably about a year ago today almost that we heard that there were still a little over 500 kids who had not been reunited with their families. Now that's a tragedy. I think that's beyond a tragedy. I think that's a crime. Yes. But when you zoom out and you look at all of the horrible policies that have come out of Washington, D.C., that have affected exponentially more people than this has. I mean, how many families were separated because of Joe Biden's 1994 crime bill? Millions.
You're right.
Millions of children stripped from their parents because of that. And so when you look at things in that context, it makes the freak out over Donald Trump look as juvenile as it was, and as hypocritical as it is, and as it still is, because there's seemingly very little to no outrage about this. Why? Because Jen Psaki goes up there and says, this is horrible. We're going to investigate the whipping at the Rio Grande.
But the only reason that happened is because Biden has continued Trump's policies.
The difference between them is whether we are crying about it or not.
Right. Yep.
Biden will whip the immigrants and then cry and say, we're sorry, we're going to investigate. We can't believe this happened. Trump will whip the immigrants and say, well, you have to get tough. You know, you can't have people pouring in. That is the only difference is the tone in which these people respond. The situation on the ground is exactly the same. I just want to play a little bit of sound because the link that you sent me, Russell, since you thought we should do this, and you were absolutely right, came with a little video. I hope it plays. So we are going to try this now. All right, we can hear it, right?
Prayers and hope of a miracle for these Haitians stuck in limbo. Some fleeing back into Mexico, fearing deportation back to Haiti. Mexican officers now blocking the river to stop anyone else from crossing into Texas. Robert is Haitian American and traveled from New York with supplies.
Some people get whipped. Some people die.
Some people get whipped. Some people died.
He's helping migrants like Jocelyn who've decided to stay in Mexico.
He says he's got strength. He wants to work.
Across the border in Texas, the Del Rio migrant camp continues to shrink this morning. Homeland Security officials say 3,100 migrants remain there. Still unclear how many migrants have been released into the U.S. to seek asylum.
Again, these would all be viral images if Trump were
absolutely.
Is in the thousands.
These would be everywhere.
And officials say nearly 1,949
immigrants deported in a week, right? Since Sunday.
Deportation
in 1 week.
Prompted Daniel Foote, the U.S. Special Envoy to Haiti, to resign in protest, calling the Biden administration's decision to deport Haitian migrants.
Daniel Foote resigned. The policy was too harsh for a guy named
the
Foote.
Ambassador mischaracterized the circumstances of his resignation. The administration Border Patrol agents will no longer use
like Cool Hand Luke here.
This is the soul of America being restored before our very eyes here.
Look at that. It's like Joe Biden's arms reaching out to the Haitian people.
The White House says it's met with civil rights leaders about the incident, still under investigation.
We feel those images are horrible and horrific. There's an investigation.
Horrible.
The president certainly supports, overseen by the Department.
All right, shut up. To hear from that fucking teacher's pet again.
And there's the thing. The only reason this could have happened is because you continued Trump's policies. So, you're going to bitch about the specifics of the way they're removing them, but it's part and parcel of the policies that you're enforcing, which was basically an invention of the Trump administration.
Exactly. And, we could even broaden this out a bit. The part that I found so sickening about that video and just so troubling, and it is such an indictment of our culture and just the whole way we do things, is the guy making the muscle saying, look, I'm strong. I can work. Let me in. I can work. The reason this crisis is happening is because they suffered a 7.2 magnitude earthquake. That's why they're coming here. So and the guy has to prove he's strong enough to work. So we can't let them in. They should let them the fuck in anyway. This is a major natural disaster. The DR, who they share an island with, treats the Haitians horribly. So they can't go there. They can't go anywhere. So, this is supposed to be the country of immigrants. I mean, this was the liberals' biggest problem with Donald Trump is his attitude towards immigrants, his treatment of immigrants, and the debasement of the country, the embarrassment that we were no longer, give me you're tired, you're hungry, you're poor, right? That no longer applied under Trump, and that we need to restore that. Well, here we have it. And through all of this, through all the, Jen Psaki saying we're going to investigate the whipping and stuff like that, they have not apologized at all or signaled at all that they are open to accepting more Haitian refugees.
No,
their message is still
the policy.
Their message is still do not come.
Right.
That's still the message. That's still the policy. They're just claiming that they're upset that a few of them got horsewhipped.
I mean, she just should have called it for what it is. She should have just called it bad optics. She just said we're very upset about these optics.
Yeah, we're very upset about these optics.
You know what policy change they made? They actually did make a policy change. The Border Patrol agents are no longer going to be on horseback.
Yeah.
At least temporarily.
Yes. Yeah, right. Because
it was bad optics.